Hey guys, welcome back. This is my second video of the day. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and for the last couple weeks, and it's interesting. Now, what happens is in the 90s, every comic book company was trying to get an edge on each other because comic books was hit back then. And of course, that's one of the reasons why a lot of 90s comic books are not worth anything. Now, if you hear any noise in the background, my niece has some girlfriends over and they're trying to do their hair in the bathroom. 4 girls in one bathroom trying to do their hair and get themselves ready for the day. Too much estrogen here. But anyway, and I want to talk about a strange Punisher story. Okay, there's actually a couple Punisher stories rolled into one, but every character they try to do something different with. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And this is going to be, in my opinion, one of the most strangest Punisher stories ever. Back then, the comic books was like $1 a piece. So you think about it. Spend 20 bucks on comics, you get 20 comics, boom. That's one of the reasons why a lot of times it's a lot of money. This is Punisher 52. This is they decided to do a full Punisher run, a true Punisher run, not just here to here. All, Episode 52 was called the Maternity War. Now, as you can see, the Punisher with a whole bunch of babies. Now, think about it. Based on this cover, you can tell it's a strange story. They was talking is basically the story's about adoptions. Nothing bad about adoptions, but what happens is it's a lady who goes around poor areas, convince them to give up their babies or kill them to give up their babies, and she gives them to some rich people. Take this out for a hot second because some of the things in here is kind of funny. Somehow the Punisher gets wind of this, and then, like I said, I should have read this before, but I didn't really need to read this to get the basic gist of the story. And so what happened was he finds her, beats the shit out of her. She falls to her death. And then what happens is he goes to all those rich people who got those babies, snatches them up, and returns them back to their original parent. Now, the funny thing about this is this scene right here. He shows over this baby to this kid. And the funny thing is he's basically telling this kid, this is your baby, do you want it? And he goes, yes, I do. It's my kid. And he says, you start going on crack. You go on crack or abandon this baby or do something else, I'm coming back to visit you. That was kind of, in my opinion, that was funny, but a classic Punisher thing. He rescues babies and tells this guy, he gives this guy a second chance to do right. So, right then and there, he's an anti-hero, but, as you can tell, he was very heroic in certain areas. Next is the Final Days issues. I missed one of them, but basically they was trying to do something strange with the Punisher. He fights. As you can see, this right here is Jigsaw right there, one of his main enemies. Gets caught up, goes to jail, and all this other stuff. He breaks out. Now the thing is that sometimes I cannot read these books, even though I have them. It's because right now I look up, back then the story was kind of cool, but as you look at it right now, you're like, oh, like, why did I buy this? But it was the most strangest storyline. of course, then they had this really cool. This is a really cool cover. Like this has like this, and then on the back side is "Wanted Dead or Alive." I thought that was pretty cool. But this is like when it was going twice a month. Now back in the 90s, a lot of combos was twice a month because it was a big story and they try to get it done fast. Instead of dragging like a six issue story, 6 months, a half a year, they just combine them all into 3 months. And it comes to some weird stuff like this. It's no big deal. This is where the story gets really messed up. The last is called Requiem. As you see him, he's going underneath the knife. Now, what happened is that this person right here is a plastic surgeon. What happens? The Punisher is so hot, like he's wanted. What they call FBI, not FBI, APBs and all this other stuff. So he has to disguise himself. That's where the story gets a little bit wacky. And this is what I'm thinking. Okay. I'm thinking that this guy who was writing this, I forgot who it was. One of the writers. Hugh Hayes. No, Mike Baron. I'm sorry. Now what happens is that every comic book, what happens, they have a retreat. And they say, okay, they used to have a retreat, but back in the day, they used to have retreats. And they plan out everything for the whole year. But maybe because of Skype and all this stuff, they could just do that at home and save money. So someone probably looked up and said, you know what, I have an idea. In the late 80s, there was this movie called Soul Man. Now I can say, okay, go on. It's about a rich kid who his parents decided to spend his college money and not give it to him. Spend his college money, okay? Okay, got it. And so what happens, in order to get into Harvard, he has to get a scholarship that's reserved for black students. So he takes some tanning pills and tans himself black and attends college that way. Sorry. Now this movie had James Earl Jones and some dude. I can't remember that dude's name. And it had Ray Daw Chong, she was very big in the 80s to early 90s. And I could see them saying, and this movie is actually pretty funny because this kid, it's kind of part social commentary to this kid who lives as a black student at Harvard in the 80s to early 90s. So think about the hijinks. He wants to go play basketball. Everybody's picking him because black people play basketball. Same thing when I was in college. I wanted to play basketball. All these white guys like, hey, I want you, because they thought I was like the next Michael Jordan because all black people could play basketball, right? And when they realized they couldn't, of course I got unceremoniously kicked out. So you see him trying to play basketball. He tried to go to a black student union. He dressed up like he was a Black Panther. Not the Black Panther in the comic books sense, but in the 60s there was a group called the Black Panthers who believed in black equality and basically taking Malcolm X's, survival kind of thing and going off their own way. And that's where the Black Power generation came from. If you've ever seen old films like Black Power, that's the reason why. So what happened is, so they decided to take that story and turn Punisher black. You might say, no way, they would never do something stupid like that. There's no way Marvel would do something stupid like that. Okay, as you can see right here, he's in bandages. And he said, you want no one to recognize you, right? Oh. Oops. Boom! Now, what happened was when I read this, I was laughing my ass off. And my roommate at the time, who collected comic books as well, he was like, because he was like, "What you laughing at?" I said, "You gotta read this." He read it, he was dying laughing too. It's like, why would they make him black? That doesn't make sense. Now in the movie Soul Man, he's an exaggerated form of racism and all sorts of stuff and discrimination, and he realized that sometimes people are not the way how they look, and then when it comes out that he was fraudulent, he had to do a whole bunch of other stuff and repent it and stuff like that. So naturally, he goes to Harlem and teams up with guess what superhero is based themselves in Harlem? Luke Cage. And that's when I was like, wow, this is starting to get really, really awesome. Not awesome, but. So what happened is, to disguise himself, he becomes black. Takes off. Now, it's funny. He's tired and groggy, and, instead of resting, he decides to go, so he's tired and groggy and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm looking for this one spot that I remember so bad. He gets pulled over by a bunch of white cops. The first thing they'd say is, "What are you doing in this fine car, boy?" Now, this is the 80s and 90s, and the funny thing is, a lot of cops said that shit to me back in that time, too. Nowadays, they say, "Sir." But sometimes you get the one guy, "What's you doing here, boy?" You were all over the world. Are you on drugs? I'm reading this. Okay. And the one phrase that he says, and this is the phrase I was looking for, he goes, "Sometimes my reflexes betray me. I had no patience for bigots when I was white. Now that I'm black, I don't like it any better." So, I mean, it was kind of like, this is like a social experiment that kind of escalated to something really off the wall crazy. And of course, he gets rescued by Luke Cage, of all people. Then he asked him for some help to take care of some drug. He was going to one of his old storehouses that he has storehouses all over the place to stash. So what happened was he breaks into storehouses, and what happened? He's like, "Oh, I'm the Punisher, but I can't be the Punisher." So he arms himself to the teeth. Arms himself to the teeth, and they're about to go kick some ass. I was like, oh boy. Now, mind you, this was weird. I mean, it's like, at this time, I can understand this. I can understand doing something different to a character, but turning them black. I mean, it's not like I'm. It's not like I'm against anything like that. But it just to me, it just like what? Okay, you can't think of something else better. Then the second part of the next issue was this, of course. As you can see, Luke Cage don't like the violence. He don't mind using violence, but guns, he doesn't. Luke Cage doesn't need it. But Punisher shoots. Punisher shoots. They go take out these guys very easily, ish. And the reason why they teamed up with this because they was trying to promote another Luke Cage comic book. So that's one. So put them in a high profile book like The Punisher with this crappy storyline. And then of course it's kind of funny because the Punisher kills this guy and he's like, better get your story straight. But it's kind of funny. But like I said, I will read this again, and every time I read it, sometimes I cringe and sometimes I laugh because it's like, seriously, that was your goal. That was your story. Let's turn Punisher black and see if that's interesting. But the problem was that they couldn't do this for very long because you got to think about it. Sometimes people are so entrenched with their characters that they cannot do it. There might be there's one other video I wanted to do is that when they wanted to use a very popular character and make that character black, and all the backlash that people complained about. I want to make a video on that, but I'm looking for the source material. I know it per se. I know what it is, but the question is to show it to you is kind of funny. What it is, but it's a good story. So what happens the next issue after that? Oh my gosh, he's back. He's back. So, not like he ever left, but the problem is that it's basically saying, oh, he's white again. And it's called, and the funny thing is the story's called Fade to White. I thought that was kind of funny. So he spends half of this, especially with Luke Cage still, getting some hijinks. And what happened was during this time, he started to turn back to white again. Then he starts kicking ass, and Luke Cage busts in, helps him out. And of course, in a big splash page, you see the Punisher come back white again. And it was pretty. I mean, I was reading this, and I was like, 20. This is like 20-something years ago, and I was like, okay. And then when Cage realized that this was the Punisher all this time, he was like, oh, this makes sense. So you're the Punisher. Nice disguise. You lost your tan. It's hilariously the story. Let's see. Like I said, it was the most weirdest story ever. Punisher goes off doing his own thing, and that's it. during the 90s, it was some strange times. But, I mean, if you're interested in getting these, I'm pretty sure you can get these for very cheap. From like issue 50 to like 62, you should be able to get it for like $1 to $2 a piece. I don't know if they made it in a graphic novel or not, but like I said, if they did, I really didn't bother because I thought the storyline was interesting at the time, but it was not the best. I mean, if you was gonna do that, have it some way to where it's like, if you're gonna do that, make it to where it makes somewhat sense. Not, I gotta escape. It's like, for example, I gotta escape. So you know what I'm gonna do? It's like that movie White Girl. Yeah, I said White Girls. That's that movie. To get undercover, to do all this stuff, we're gonna act white. We're gonna dress like we're white people, and that's like, wow. But anyway, that's my thoughts about the storyline, and not yours. I mean, this is my thoughts. If you actually pick this up and read it, or if you want to read it, just let me know. Talk to me about it. If you think this is kind of like, what kind of fucking shit is this? Let me know. But, you know, like I said, this is a video that I wanted to do for weeks. And my usual bullshit got in the way. The next video, I promise I'm going to try to do something different. Again. Try to do something slightly different again. But anyway. With that, I'm going to leave it be for a Saturday afternoon. Yes, I'm leaning. Yes. Cutting my TV back on and cool. I don't know. I want to go to the gym, but I don't really feel like it. And usually, if I don't really feel like going, that means if I go, something's going to bad happen. But anyway, let me know what you think. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, give me a thumbs down. Comment, subscribe. Subscribe to tell me off. Oh, what the hell are you talking about? You know, the Punisher's great. This is an awesome book. And tell you to me, I love the Punisher. Great character. Just the storyline didn't do so well for me. Back in the day, I thought it was funny and interesting. But like I said, after a while, but then again, 20 years ago, sorry, 30 years ago, this is the 90s, I'm sorry. 30 years ago, when I was like in my 20s, no, I'm in 40s, so like, yeah, 20-something years ago. 20 years ago, when I read this, I thought this was cutting edge. I thought this was cutting edge. Something different. But now, if I read this, and one day I will read this, I'll probably be like, what the hell? But anyway, let me know what you think. Talk to you later.